He tries to marry her for revenge. What will you do when the man you are to marry says no at the altar and walks away? The man who had always been telling you he loves you suddenly does not care for you anymore. This is a twisted tale with lots of secrets and misconceptions involved. Henry is talking about how he met his fiancée, Rita. He says that when he saw her, he knew she was the one. He said he knew she was the one he wanted to spend the rest of his life with. Rita comes to sit next to him. The camera stops rolling and they kiss. Amanda, the wedding planner, shouts at them for doing that after the camera has stopped rolling. Edna, Rita's sister-in-law, asks Amanda to leave them be. Amanda shouts, "God when," and says love is sweet. She says she loves his sweetness and prays to experience her own one day. They all rise up to the table to eat. While eating, Amanda jokingly asks Rita to share her man. They all laugh about it. Rita is washing plates in the kitchen and Henry sneaks up on her. He says she should have asked him to come help her. He says he doesn't like to be away from her. He carries and places her on the kitchen counter. He tells her he cannot wait for her to be completely his. She says it will happen in a couple of weeks. They kiss. Rita's brother comes and says Henry cannot even wait till she's officially his. Rita tells her brother that there is food in the fridge and she will heat it up for him whenever he is ready to eat. He says okay and asks Henry to leave his sister alone. Rita is getting ready to go to bed when her phone rings again. Henry is calling. She's surprised he's calling again because they literally just said goodbye not so long ago. He says he misses her. She asks him to tell her how much he loves her. He says till infinity. He asks if she loves him. By now, Rita's brother is already in her room. She tells Henry how much she loves him and her brother is watching. She tells Henry she will talk to him the next day. Her brother talks through the phone that he needs his sister. He looks at her and says he will miss her. He gives her a necklace he got for her. She says she will miss him too because he practically raised her. Henry calls Rita the next morning. They talk and she goes over to his place. He sneaks up on her from behind and she is startled. She asks for his opinion about which earrings to pick and he picks one for her. She stands to go meet Amanda, but he asks her to stay. He says she's going to sleep over. She brings juice for herself and Amanda. Amanda asks her about Henry's family members and if they are coming. She says she doesn't know. She mentions those she's sure of. Amanda asks the best man, Leo. Rita says Leo will arrive in 2 days. Amanda hopes Leo is fine so they can get together. She also hopes he is a sensible person so he will not spoil her pictures for her. She says she's also getting married to Rita. She says it is a consolation for being single. Rita wakes up in the middle of the night and cannot find Henry. She goes downstairs to check on him and meets his laptop on the dining table. She finds him cooking in the kitchen. He says he was hungry and decided to fix something to eat. He asks if she wants to eat, but she says no. He later convinces her. She tells him that she hopes this will not be a habit of his, so she will not get a big stomach. She asks when Leo will be arriving, and he says tomorrow. She asks if they set Leo and Edna up. Henry laughs and continues to eat. Leo arrives the next day, and he's happy to see his friend. They hug and make banters. He asks that he show Leo to his room, but Leo does not let him. He goes inside himself. Henry clenches his fist and leaves. Rita comes, and she's excited to see Leo. She asks how he is. She tells him she's angry at him for just coming and he apologizes. She asks if he has eaten anything. He says no. She goes to fix him something to eat. Rita is going through Henry's things, looking for a file she left there the last time she was there. She saw a brown envelope with pictures. She goes to sit to look at them better. She realizes she has not seen those pictures before. Henry comes back. She greets him, but his face looks hostile. He asks what she was looking for. She says she was looking for documents she forgot at his place and then stumbled on those pictures. Henry collects them from her and says she should never look at those pictures again. Amanda comes to see Henry. Leo goes to meet her and introduces himself. Immediately they hit it off. Henry goes to call Rita upstairs. Rita comes down and it is weird between her and Henry. He offers her a drink but she refuses. She goes to the kitchen to wash plates. Amanda goes to meet her and asks what the matter is. She says her wedding is soon and she cannot be like this. She says to tell her so she knows if it is something she can interfere with. Henry comes in and she leaves. He tries to touch Rita but she does not let him. She says she's not talking to him. He tries to help her wash plates but she asks him to leave. He leaves her and goes to the living room. Rita is inside her room. Edna comes in to talk to her and she's worried by the way she sees her. She asks if everything is okay. She says she's not sure, but she thinks Henry is lying to her. Edna asks why she thinks that. She says he's acting suspicious. Edna tells her she knows Henry loves her a lot and he has not made her cry once since they've been together. She says maybe it is just some pre-wedding fever, but she should be fine. Kenneth enters and says Henry is here to see Rita. He asks if everything is okay and they tell him yes. Henry and Kenneth talk and he tells that he knows he will take care of her sister and thanks him for loving her. Henry goes to Rita's room and sees her on the veranda. He asks if she wants to call off the wedding or if she does not want to marry him anymore. She comes in and asks why he will ask such a question. He says because she's being stubborn over something small. He says she will not talk to him and he hates the silence. She says she's angry at him. He does not talk about his family or even say anything about them. He says it is a sensitive topic for him. They hug and she apologizes. It is their wedding day. Henry is looking at the pictures and holds them close to his chest. Leo comes and asks Henry to start getting ready. Everyone starts to come and go. Rita walks into the venue looking as beautiful as a bride that she is. She smiles. The pastor starts to read the vows. He asks if Henry will take Rita to be his wife. He has tears in his eyes. He says no and walks away. Rita faints and everyone rushes to her. Leo runs after him. Henry's in the house. He's excited and glad that he did what he did. He says he has finally gotten his revenge. He's so happy. He then thinks about Rita. He says he has hurt her. He did not mean to. He did not mean to fall in love with her. Leo comes in and asks what happened. He ignores him and goes inside. He sits in his room and cries. Leo keeps knocking, but he does not answer. Edna and Amanda are in the room with Rita. She's asleep. Kenneth is angry. He vows to kill Henry. He rushes out. His wife stops him, but he does not answer. When he gets to Henry's place, Leo opens the door for him. He shouts and asks for Henry. Leo asks him to calm down, but he punches him. He goes to meet Henry in the room, punches him too. Leo asks how it feels to have a taste of his own medicine. Everyone is confused. Rita wakes up and is crying profusely. She asks Amanda to call Henry for her. Edna goes to take water and sees that her husband is back. She says he needs to calm down. He goes into the room to meet Rita and hugs her. She cries and begs that they help her call Henry. Henry is looking at his family picture. He remembers the day he came into the house when he was young and saw that his sister killed herself. Rita runs out of her room in the middle of the night. She says she needs to see Henry. She says she has to see him. Kenneth holds her and says it is over. She says it cannot be over. She says Henry promised her forever and it cannot be over. She cried profusely. Henry is sitting in the dark. Leo comes to ask him why he's so angry and wants to seek revenge so badly. He asks what the family did to him, what Rita did to him, but Leo does not answer. He thinks about every memory he has with Rita and cries. Amanda sees Rita sitting outside her room at night. She's worried about her friend and calls Leo to talk about what is going on. Leo says he does not know either. He says he's just as clueless as she is. Amanda says she thought Henry was in love with Rita. She says God will judge him for what he did. Henry's uncle looks at Leo. He shakes his head. Henry's uncle goes to Henry's room to ask him to talk. He tells Henry to talk. He says if people hurt him, then he should let it out instead of dying in silence. Henry refuses to say anything. Henry comes down from the stairs and sees Kenneth downstairs. He asks what he's doing there. Kenneth tells him they need to talk. Henry tells him there is nothing he wants to say to him. Kenneth says he should talk instead of being such a coward. He mentions Janet, his sister. He says he was an intern in Kenneth's company in 2008. Kenneth asks if he is Janet's brother. He says he is. He remembers the first time he saw Henry. Henry accuses him of killing Janet. He says she got pregnant for him. He rejected the pregnancy and left her. Kenneth asks if that was what Janet told him. He says it does not need to be told. It was what he saw. He says Janet was everything to him, just like Rita is to Kenneth. He says he took her away from him. Kenneth says he did not do anything. He says Janet cheated on him with another student and wanted him to raise the child. Kenneth is shocked and does not believe it. Kenneth says he could have come to him, but he chose to nurture years of hatred. He asks him to stay away from Rita. Rita is laying in bed. She remembers the first time she saw Henry and how she fell in love with him at first sight. She cries again. Edna asks Kenneth if he has told Rita. He says she doesn't know anything. Edna consoles him and says it is not his fault. He goes into Rita's room and tells her what happened. Rita storms out of the house in the morning. Kenneth runs after her. Leo tells Henry that he's disappointed in him. He says he allowed himself to hold on to a grudge for years and he hurt Rita. He says he thought Henry loved her. His quest for revenge had caused him to shoot himself in the leg. Rita comes and asks why Henry did what he did to her. She says she did not know Janet at all and she did not know what happened, but he took it out on her because he knew hurting her would only hurt her brother. She brings out a bottle of sleeping pills and wanted to take it to complete the whole revenge plot. He apologizes and tries to stop her, but she does not listen. Kenneth comes and asks Henry to stay away from his sister. He takes her home. Henry calls Rita at night, but she does not pick up. Kenneth goes to Rita's room and asks if Henry is the one calling. She asks that he stays away from her. He says Henry is evil for letting hate ruin him for half his life. Rita says it is not his fault, but Janet's. Kenneth says it does not change anything. She says she loved Henry, but her love was not enough for him to change his mind. He asks her to take a break. She says whatever she decides to do, he will support her. He asks her to use the time to further her education. Henry comes to her house to see Kenneth, but Kenneth refuses to see him. He receives a call about his sister's memorial. He thanks his friend for helping him organize it. Henry goes to Kenneth's house again. Edna opens the door and says he should give up. She says Kenneth will not see him. Kenneth comes out and grants him an audience. Henry apologizes for everything he has done. He says losing his sister at that age made him blind to a lot of things. He says he did not know he was going to fall in love with Rita. Kenneth says he loves Janet. Henry asks if he will come for her memorial. He says yes. They shake hands. Rita sees them. Years later, Rita is at the mall getting groceries. She bumps into Henry and they exchange pleasantries. He says he did not know she was back. She says she got back a few months ago. He asks her to lunch, which she agrees to. Rita is on the phone with someone and she says she saw Henry at the mall. Edna goes to meet her later in the room and advises her to live life and not hold on to the past. She says if she still loves Henry, she should be with him, and if she needs time, she should take it. Rita thanks her and hugs her. Rita is all dressed up to see Henry. Kenneth asks if she has to do this. She says yes, because she did really give him a chance to explain himself. When she gets outside, he compliments her and says she's beautiful. They leave for lunch together. It is not a good thing to hold on to grudges. Communication is key because it frees our mind from hatred and miscommunications. Sonia Uche herself had it on her channel on YouTube. Please follow, like, and subscribe to our channel for more videos like this.